And welcome back to another edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston. I'm joined by LaMarr Fields. How you doing, brother? How's your week been?
Been pretty good. Yours?
Yeah, it's another fine week going, passing, and that's taking it day by day. It's always good whenever you got some baseball. Now, a lot of news has transpired this week in baseball alone, and there's really no tipping point, but I'm gonna start here because it's pretty significant. The Reds have gone on like a 14 game winning streak, and Ali De La Cruz is just hitting the ball like there's no tomorrow. He's already hit for the cycle. In this time span, we've also seen the Pirates do the opposite of what the Reds have been doing. So I guess a good talking point is the NL Central. What are your thoughts, Lamar? And allow me to ask this. This is really a turning point because this is the kind of game in baseball where you could see a turning point like this, and in a blink of an eye, who was tied for first can go right to fourth, and who was like right at the bottom of the division could easily find themselves at the top.
Yeah. Hot streaks are just a couple weeks ago. The Pirates was in first place. Then they lost what 10 in a row, something like that.
They
Now
lost like
they
nine.
five, 5.5 back, still in striking distance with a lot left to play. But yeah, man, you never want to lose that many in a row. And the Reds called their young rookie phenom up, and they took off and lost last night. But they're just gonna lose the game sooner or later. Win 11 in a row. But back at it today and see what they're playing against a good Braves team. Um, yeah, you see him brought up De La Cruz and put some life in the team. And he's an old school baseball player. He's running the bases, creating havoc on the base pass, hitting the ball, making good defensive plays. It's good to see that, man. What, Friday night? I don't know if they sold out last night, but Friday night when I was watching on MLB.TV, they had sold out. So bringing life back to the city as well. That's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. I can say that as a guy that watches the NL Central a lot, I've seen this coming. Not necessarily as in to seeing the Reds doing what they did, but I don't understand the Pirates to a certain extent. Okay, like it's great that you beat up on the Reds, and now that you look back on that, like all that winning against the Reds, albeit it was only like seven or so games, but still,
Mhm.
the fact that they won what they won early on, it can actually make a difference because now instead of losing those divisional games early on they won, it actually makes the race seem a lot closer. And if anything, there could be some tiebreakers that do come into the favor of the Pirates down the line if the cases were to present themselves. But more importantly, if I'm the Pirates, like that 9 game streak where you were facing solely just the Cubs and the Brewers, they really could not have afforded to do what they did. I mean, and I think it puts in a greater perspective them winning 19 games in April because if you now look back, and it's not that I'm a guy that always likes to look back, but if you do a thorough analysis on how this season has gone so far, those 19 games probably could have saved them from being in a lot worse predicament than what they currently are in. And like you said, being only like 5.5 games out, they're still in the thick of things with a lot of baseball here left to play. But whenever it comes to less division games against each team, you just don't want to say, okay, I'm gonna beat up on two-fourths of the division, whereas you want to be in all reality beating up on every single buddy that you can. And it's tough. I mean, the Pirates have notoriously struggled in Milwaukee recently. They've gotten a little bit more of a fair share, but it's just whenever it comes to the Cubs and the Brewers, those are probably two of the teams right now that are in a better position in some ways, with going for that division. But I think in all reality, this division is going to be wide open until the last day of the season. It's just you don't see no clear team being the clear front runner because obviously winning streaks don't last forever, much like losing streaks don't last forever. And I think that in the whole scope of things, you're going to just see that all these teams are going to be fighting until the last day of the season. And that's a good thing for baseball because it goes to show, that division is going to be one that's one that's going to be worth paying attention to for the long term.
Yep.
In all reality, it's amazing me how the Reds can get on this kind of streak. But I think besides even looking at the NL Central, if you now look at the AL East, and we can also get into the NL East, but if you look at the AL East, the Red Sox have made a lot of noise now after winning both series back to back against the Yankees, and now they won't face each other until August. But I think that puts an even bigger perspective because in a lot of ways, I also want to say this is seeing the Rays and the Orioles where they are in that AL East, that is going to make for a lot of baseball fans to be looking at those divisions, because if you were to look at the season today, you would not be expecting one of those two teams, or if not both, to be in first and second. You might have expected one, but nobody sure did not predict that Tampa would get off to the hot streak that they got to.
Yeah. Tampa always plays well, man. Well put together, good farm system. Go out there and play hard and play smart, and that's where they're at, 53-27.
Now, here's a question I do have, because I was following some New York media this week, because all of a sudden, the Yankees fans are starting to get a little frustrated, a little upset. Do you think that Aaron Judge might have an injury per se that Aaron Boone is not talking about? And the reason I ask is because the Yankees usually average about 40,000 plus fans a game. And it's been quite a while since Aaron Judge has actually been in the lineup. And this isn't just like these injuries just aren't something that, take, the way that they're describing his injury is it would take day to day, but day to day really doesn't result in a week plus, or even going on maybe 2 weeks that he has been out. Do you think that it's something more serious that the Yankees don't want the public to know?
Yeah, and you say he tore a ligament in his toe or whatever. I don't know, but Yankee fans are still getting. Seen one Yankee fan that's a radio host out in Las Vegas and do some Sirius XM talk. He was basically saying, yeah, he missing a game because of torn ligament in the toe and not his ACL and all that. So it's starting to get frustrating out there when your best player, who you just gave a big contract to, is not hurt. But if he's hurt, he's hurt. Nothing they can do about it. I mean, 42-35, still in wild card distance. I mean, it's early, but I don't. That division is either the Rays or Orioles. I think divisions to lose. So I mean, just gotta keep playing, man. It's just New York, so they're always gonna be panic mode. But I mean, it's too early.
I agree. It really is too early. I mean, but let's put it this way, Kay. At least just be honest and transparent and say if he's injured. And I get it. They're afraid that tickets, might go down in sales and this, that, the other. But here's my whole point, though: is I'd rather fans come to the game knowing the truth if he is injured versus fans buying tickets anticipating that he's going to play, and then you guys finally come out and say that he's injured, and it's just like, well, why not have just said that all along? I mean, I get the circumstances, but still.
Yeah, weird situation.
Oh, I mean, it is, but I mean, looking right now, even as a general fan of the game, I think that what baseball started to see is their attendance is up and their viewership, I believe, is up. I don't
Yeah.
have exact figures in front of me, but let me ask you this: what do you what if you were to say top two factors as to what's attributing the attendance and the viewership to be up? What would you think that it's attributed to?
The game's going by faster, and the young talent that's getting showcased.
Hmm. What would be your reasoning behind that? Like, if you could be more specific, maybe talent wise versus like shorter games.
Shorter games. People always said baseball games take too long. Now you could go to a baseball game, be out there in 2.5 hours, uh, instead of being there 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. Definitely makes it make the casual baseball fan want to go to the games now. And the young talent, just young talent that's going on. Look at the Reds. I mean, the Reds sold out Friday night, and since the show, man, you go young talent, man. Put the young talent on the field and make the game exciting. Bring the players up. Same thing with the Giants. They bring playing players up. They start winning. They start winning games. I mean, what's different? You keep running these players out there batting 208. Well, this rookie can bat 208 too. I mean, it's a lot of teams probably bring these players up, direct some life into your team, make baseball exciting. You got crews out there running around bases, sliding, just making plays, making games exciting again, like it was in the '90s.
No, definitely. I agree with that. I think that in a lot of ways, and I think that maybe what some of these organizations are starting to realize is maybe it's a benefit to call these younger guys up because maybe what they do in the minor leagues just it's not going to cut it as far as development goes. Maybe the rest of their development has to come at the major league level, because I mean to me it just makes a lot of other things, a little bit better in the long run. You're able to just see things from a different angle. You're able to get fresh faces, and you're able to see the futures of your organizations. Hopefully,
Mhm.
you're able to see a mixture of things that really make for it better. And I honestly think it's honestly not just the fact that the game is shorter. But it's also the fact that, there's also a lot of rules in place, for pitchers. You can't have more than 2 pickoff attempts. You can't have, no more than X amount of mountain visits and this, that, the other. So that, these players know that, okay, well, we can't prolong this stuff anymore. Not saying that they were, but there are other things in place that, make it to where the game can't be prolonged more than what somebody may have been looking for and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, I'm in favor of this. So I think it's really making the game more exciting. You're seeing teams that you normally wouldn't see at this stage. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of baseball to be played. But I think whenever you look at it and you see where everything is at, I think you see that overall, that I think this is a benefit for the fans. I'm a very, very I wasn't too sure about the rules up until this point, but I think that the reason why Major League Baseball did what they did is because they seen promise on the other side, and that was with the new rule changes, what can happen and stuff. Now, as we're talking about the games getting better, there was an incident yesterday between the Astros and the Dodgers where there was a balk called. I am not sure if you've seen that or not. Um, I got a very little glimpse of it. I don't know what these umpires might see. I don't know, what the case is, but there have been a couple times I believe this year where there have been certain calls that have been called balks that probably shouldn't have, and it's just like, I mean, let's be realistic. What's a balk and what's not a balk? I think we need to differentiate that, but more importantly, I think sometimes maybe umpires might be prematurely calling this stuff when they shouldn't be. And it could be very costly, but then at the end of the and listen, the ump sees what the ump sees, the player knows what the player knows, and the player did, but there's also no reason to really, go and bark at the umpire. At least, I mean, I get it could result in a different outcome, and it did. I mean, essentially, the Dodgers got a couple things into their favor, but even then, I don't know, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, if it's a balk, it's a balk. No matter what time of year, I didn't really see it, but if it was truly a balk, it's a balk.
Oh yeah.
I
I
mean,
just to me sometimes you can't I don't know. It's kind of hard to call box sometimes because it is what it is. But yeah, I mean it's tough. It really is. I mean, you know, uh I don't really know what to say on it because like I've watched the video itself like maybe twice, but I don't have a good close up to it to really tell if he did a balk or if he didn't do a balk. So it's like, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, my issue is where it's called because sometimes it's like you don't get those calls early in the game whenever they should be called, and then late in the game they call it, and it's not legit a balk, and then it shifts the momentum when it probably shouldn't have, in the whole 9 yards, and and that's my whole thing is you know like was it legitimately a balk because I can't tell. I mean, like I says, the ump has a better view than me, but sometimes the umps don't honestly put themselves in the best possible position to get that to make that right call. And I think those are some things that honestly should be challenged because especially in the later part of the game where that's happening, there are certain plays that should be allowed to challenge because okay, if you didn't get the best judgment or the best viewpoint like you probably should have, well, we need to find out if this is really this because then it's just like a wrong call on the umpire's end can really dramatically shift it. And a game that now has the outcome of play wouldn't or maybe it would not have had, it does have. And I think that that's an issue because as an umpire, you should be making the calls that are the right, but you got to watch which calls you really do make.
Yeah, gotta make sure it's a call.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you actually ever notice that in certain games where like, in the beginning of the game calls are made like this, but then like at the end of the game a call that probably should have been made that didn't, it gets called in like towards the later part of the game and then like the momentum and the outcome drastically shifts. I mean, and the other reason why I really harp on that is because, at the end of the day, I believe the Astros did score the go ahead run, or no, the Dodgers did for that matter, get the go ahead run, and then they had a runner move up to third, and so it's just like on that specific call, it's like that matters the most. Whereas, okay, maybe if we didn't have runners in scoring position, it'd be a totally different story. But they did, and the call was what the call was. But I don't know. I think that in a lot of ways I think that there's going to be a little bit more rule changes too, and it's going to be to allow teams to challenge these calls because allow me to say this, yes, is certain calls judgmental calls, sure, but there's nothing wrong with taking a second look to make sure that the judgment's the right call because the last thing you want to do is really give an umpire credit for a call that was right for a call that was actually wrong, and then that both discredits that umpire and that discredits you as a league. And then people are going to be like, well, what is it? Like, at least if you go back and you look at the review after the review, you could just double check to make sure, yes, this is the video proof that shows this happened versus, we're not going to go review this because it's a judgment call. Well, not all the time is your judgment right. So it's just like, I'd rather you get the call right and actually be able to challenge that versus not challenging that, believing the call is right. And because it's all about credibility and it's all about, making sure that you get the right call. It's not necessarily about telling the umpire that he or she is wrong. It's just making the right call because that's what is the right thing to do in the whole scope of it.
Yeah,
Do you think that Major League Baseball actually might move towards that route and actually might say we did this year not doing that, but next year we might move towards it being able to challenge some of these calls because do we want this kind of backlash to come at us as a league knowing that these are calls that are very important and although it's judgment, we want to make sure it's the 100% right judgment call.
they might go to challenge it, but I mean, I don't know, man. Pitchers need to know the rules. I'm looking at the stuff online. A lot of people saying it was a balk. So, but I mean, I don't know. This could be, but I don't know. I don't think they will. I mean, they got a good thing going right now. Just follow the rules, man.
I mean, that's all
Hmm.
you can do. I mean, your first year is probably going to be the year that you slip up the most. But then sooner rather than later, people are going to get accustomed to the rules. People are going to understand, what is expected of them. And I'm pretty sure things are going to shift. It's just a matter of when they actually shift is the true question to all of that. I mean, hey, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not a balk because I had like I seen it twice, but I didn't get a clear like shot to say yes, this is a balk. But only the second base umpire can really know because he was the one that called it and he was the one that saw it the most. So I mean, hey, kudos to the umpires. If they see something, they're gonna call it, and sometimes you really just got to respect that. In the whole scope of it.
Yeah.
Now there's other baseball news because there are two trades that have gone on. And how does this sound, Lamar? You get traded from one clubhouse to the other and you're playing in that series. So, you go from the Rockies clubhouse to the Angels clubhouse. And, all of a sudden, you went from this level in the NL West to, wow, I'm kind of might be in things in the AL West.
Yeah. The Stockies, yeah, I was like, oh wow, when I saw that trade. I think the Angels need more pitching at any other bat, but uh, it could work out for them. Nice to get a trade. It's nice to get the trade way before a trade deadline, so you ain't get the player acclimated earlier and see what kind of role he's gonna fit with the team.
Oh, that's true. I'm all for it, but I do think that they are a team that needs a lot more pitching than they do hitting at this moment. I think that in a lot of ways their hitting can show up. It's just the fact of the matter is, does your pitching show up? And that's a question that's yet to be determined in a lot of ways. But I do know for the simple fact is at the end of the day, Angels are gotta. I think if one team makes some moves, it's got to be the Angels, but they got to make the right moves. And it's hard to say whether these moves are going to be the right moves, but at the end of the day, it's just like you got to make more than what you're doing now. Like you got to like. And I think that realistically, I think that the Angels front office might be feeling the pressure about it, and they're wanting to do something because they know if we don't do this, then that this just isn't going to be the result that we're looking for. And then and I'm not here to say that Otani is legitimately gone, but I think they know that there's pressure, that there are teams that can far outbid them if they choose to, and that if teams do, it's going to be one of those ordeals. And it's just like, how do we go about doing that? How do we go about fixing that?
I get why I did do the trade though, because give him a legitimate, solid third baseman, but Rendon always hurt, so it does give him a solid third baseman. So I see that in that aspect.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, still need to add some pitching. You never have enough pitching, so it's gonna be a lot of teams trying to add some pitching because everything's all crunched together. You're gonna see a lot of teams trying to add stuff to get them over the hump close to the trade deadline. So it should be interesting with all teams all crunched together. The divisions, a lot of divisions close. So it could come down to whoever make the smartest moves.
I've known from as long as I've been following baseball and being a stat guy that I am, you can never go wrong with enough pitching. Um, you can have all the offense in any given lineup, any given day, but the minute you don't have enough pitching, it's going to cost you. And I think that a lot of teams see that as pitching is the predominant force that really guides a team to where it guides them. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I do agree. I think the Angels, they need to get a lot more pitching than they do anything else. I think we might see more moves from them. I mean, you really got to ask yourself, okay, if you look at the standings right now, and you literally look at them and you see what you see with them, there's a lot of teams that are not out of it. And that's a good thing. I mean, even the Yankees, 9.5 games. I mean, no team is really out of it unless you are legitimately probably like the Oakland Athletics. But even then, they still got room to make up. But even as the Angels, 42-36, you're 6 games out behind the Texas Rangers. You're really not out of anything. It's just a matter of, I think we're going to see a couple other streaks coming. Some teams that were once winning that are now losing, and teams that were once losing that are now winning. And it's going to put things into a whole better perspective of, what we can truly expect to see coming into this for sure.
Yep.
Now, here's another one that I did want to touch on, just because, a lot of people they seem to have these this problem with these City Connect jerseys. Now, as much as I do care about a design on the jersey, it doesn't really bother me. But when the Pirates unveiled their City Connect jerseys, a lot of fans said this is what Nike could come up with. And I says, relax, there's probably a lot of designs that are hidden in the print, which there are actually. Um, you know, I don't know where to go with this, but what are your thoughts on some of these City Connect jerseys? And if you had to give a top five ranking of who has the top five jerseys right now as City Connect jerseys, who would you say?
I don't know. I really don't care what the jerseys look like. Some are ugly, some are cool. I mean, I like the red one personally, the black with the red writing.
Yeah.
And I thought I kind of like the Giants ones too. Everybody don't like the Giants one, but I think it's kind of cool. But I mean, I don't get into all jerseys. I mean, as long as they ain't too ugly, it's fine with me.
Yeah. I would honestly say there's like one flat out that I like that like this screams like, man, that's a nice jersey. It would be the Chicago White Sox. I really got to
Yeah, they
give
got a good one too.
credit for doing, that. And in all honesty, I mean, whenever you look at the White Sox City Connects to the Cubs City Connects, you really just got to wonder, did Nike really just personally do this so that the White Sox could get bragging rights? Because I mean, their jerseys do look nice. Now, if I were the Pirates, I'm actually not upset with the fact that they went with like that gold/yellow color. I really don't like disappoint because there are some things you can really do with that. I know that they've had a previous gold/yellow jersey that they've worn. It looks nice, but to have that, I know that they debuted those Tuesday against the Padres. So that's going to be huge. But I think overall, when you look at some of these things, I mean, it's hard to get certain things done on jerseys because, okay, well, you can write Steel City, even though, Steel City might be the nickname of the city. There are also businesses in that city that might actually go by that name that might have certain things trademarked or everything. So it's like Nike's got to make sure that they're just not copywriting or, stealing or this, that, or the other. And in a whole lot of scopes, I think it's really just beneficial for them to, do what they did. But sometimes I really think that they could have done better. I would have wondered what maybe like a black jersey would look like, or more importantly, like some kind of like steel gray jersey. People are just like, no, gray would. I'm like, no, like regular gray is one thing, but like a steel gray is a total different color. I'm like, go all out with it. Somebody was expecting them to like have the gold and then like have like one of the bridges go across the chest. I was like, even though that would be sick, like, it's just sometimes I guess, Nike and these organizations are very limited to what they could do. And then some of these City Connect jerseys, you're just like, that's really just a replica version of the alternate jersey you already have. Like, come on. I mean, I don't know why people make so much noise, but I would agree. The Reds do have a nice City Connect jersey. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, Nike actually really did a nice job with this and stuff like that. It really kind of reminds me in some ways of some Ohio State jerseys, just because of the way that like the red and stuff like just mixed together, even though I know that like Ohio State's scarlet and gray, but even still, I mean, it's just it's a nice overall addition. I actually just like the City Connect jerseys in general because it gives you a break from the everyday jerseys you see. And maybe you'll start seeing Nike rolling out more jerseys for each team in the long run. Not that jerseys make a difference, but if you want to sell stuff and you want fans to really be attracted, you got to come out with new product that shows that kind of stuff anyway. Well, if there's one thing I would ask of you before this podcast ends, it would be what team has shocked you the most up until this point? If you could give me one team, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's just like you are shocked with like overall.
Um, how good the Reds are doing. I'm not the Reds, the Diamondback. I'm not Diamondbacks with the Rays. I expect them to be 53-27. I expect them to be up there this season or that season, playing good baseball. Diamondbacks as well too, I guess you can say. But I mean, they got two really good pitchers, so that always You got a couple good pitchers that always gives you a good chance to win.
Hmm. Yeah. If it were me, I mean, I don't know if you could consider it an off year for them or not, but I'm actually really surprised that the Cardinals are like
Yeah,
last place. I mean, if anything, if the season were to go certain ways right now, I would have at least expected them to like be in maybe third or second. I mean, because whenever you look at the talent they have a lot of it, and that they do have a young core. It's like for them to be 32 and 45 and 9 games out of it, and even the fact that you're 9 games behind the Reds, it's just it's one of those things, but I mean, at the end of the day, like we always say, there's still more baseball to be played, and evidently, we can expect to see some turnaround here. If not, then hey. But I mean, some teams are going to go through a rebuilding year. I know the A's are no longer on their nice little winning streak, so that is that. But
yeah. They
it's
went
nice
from
while it lasts. I mean, if we
mhm.
take a look real quick at the A's, I mean they haven't trimmed their, like, margin in games behind down, but, they are 20 and 59 on the season, so, I mean, that does show some bounce back in some way, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the Mariners are much as of a surprise, but hey, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of divisions to keep a track on. I
Yeah.
think that every division is gonna be up for grabs, and who knows? That actually might be great for baseball. Every division being up for grabs. There's no really uh forefront winner yet, and until like it's over, it's really just not over. And I think that that's the best part about it.
hmm
Anything else to add?
Yeah, Giants pretty much 1.5 game out of first place. If they can sweep the Diamondbacks today, it'll be for half a game back. It goes with to show you what a hot streak can do.
Yeah, did they sweep the Dodgers?
Yep. Now they about to on the verge of sweeping the Diamondbacks.
That's great. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, looking at the division, Diamondbacks in first place, Giants in second, and the Dodgers in third. If you're sweeping, two of the teams that are around you, like you don't know what you're doing right now can actually really be a very big positive maneuver for you down the line. And it's all about, just being out there and doing that.
Yeah, they really took care of business. That was a stretch where they had the Padres, Dodgers, and Diamondbacks. And talked to my buddy, who was a Giants fan also. He's talking about how this was going to be a big stretch, and they handled it well. Even if they do lose today, I mean, because a stretch that could either build you up, or a stretch that you can play even, or a stretch that could have buried you. But it came out one game with a sweep, and Luis Matos hit his first 2-run homer yesterday to put the team ahead, and Patrick Bailey is swinging the bat. Looked to be getting a hold of that catcher position now.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, I think that what the Giants did was they really put themselves in a prime position. I mean, I think in all reality, that's really a turning point for them. I think it really goes to show a lot about just who they are as a team, but more importantly, I think it also goes to show the talent of that young core, like you were talking about, that's really coming up. Like you kind of gave your young core something to live up to, and they've all of a sudden have been answering the call. And sometimes I think that's really the message to the rest of MLB organizations is, hey, give your young folks a chance. Like things might not happen in the immediate, but that doesn't mean that's not gonna be experience that they can rely on in the future. I mean, sometimes you have to go through something to really experience it, and then the next time you get that opportunity, like you're prepared for it because you faced it once, and it's going to be good for the Giants. I mean, I'm really excited to see where these next couple of weeks lead for them, and the whole 9 yards, and to see where all these divisional races, but more importantly, even the NL West, where that goes, because it'd be crazy to not see the Dodgers win, but at the same time, I think a lot of baseball wants to see another team besides the Dodgers winning the NL West.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to
Yeah.
do it for this edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. For LaMarr Fields, I am Tom Johnston, and we'll see you guys on the next one.